Welcome back to CACI's series on the residential market, where we'll be once again taking a look at 20 CI's mover market data to understand how the rental market has moved in Q2 2022, this time looking at the wider UK market.
So, last time we saw that in London, while the cost of renting had gone up on average 10% compared to pre-COVID, the amount of actual rents agreed had decreased significantly. Are we seeing the same story across the rest of the UK?
Broadly speaking, yes. So in every single region outside of London, we're seeing less rents agreed than at the pre-COVID level. In fact, the only region that witnessed any growth last year, so on a year-on-year basis, was East Midlands. And even then, it's only at 1.8% growth.
So, with less rents being agreed, does this mean a decrease in prices?
Unfortunately for renters, it does not. So certainly London's price increases were extreme, but it's not the only region that's seen rapid price growth. And if we look at the East Midlands, Scotland, South East and South West, all of those regions have seen year-on-year price growth of 10% or greater, and many others not far behind. If we look versus pre-COVID level, in fact, 8 out of 11 regions have seen a greater increase in price than London did, with East Midlands, Wales, West Midlands and Yorkshire all seeing more than 20% growth in price of rents agreed in Q2 2022 than the same period in 2019.
I mean, it sounds like bad news for renters. Are all groups being impacted in the same way?
Not all groups are being impacted in the same way. The picture varies from region to region. However, across CACI's research, we've identified 3 main groups as being most exposed to the cost of living increases: the city sophisticate group, the difficult circumstance group, and the struggling estates groups. Now, all 3 of those groups do appear to be disproportionately affected by the rising cost of rents agreed.
I mean, clearly these groups are not all the same. How are we justifying that these groups are all exposed in the same way?
So you're right to point out it's probably the city sophisticate group there that stands out. And whilst it's true that these are very high earners, in actuality they have incredibly high housing costs alongside other costs like travel. With their high propensity to rent, they're very exposed here to increasing prices of rents. To put it into perspective, for this group, only 24 pence in every pound that they make is classified as disposable income. For other groups, it's over 50%. So if we look at the city sophisticates groups, in the West Midlands as an example, where Birmingham will be their major city hub, they're looking at 22% year-on-year growth in rents agreed, which is roughly £200 per calendar month extra that they need to find.
So I imagine difficult circumstances and struggling estates, however, are not paying quite so much in rent. How are they so exposed in the same way?
Again, you're right there, they're not paying so much in rent, however they have much lower total earnings anyway, so they have less ability to absorb those price increases. However, for those groups, in all 11 regions, at least one of them is experiencing greater than average price increases, and in many instances, both of them are. When we say price increases, we're not talking about in substantial amounts. Oftentimes, these are £100 or more per calendar month that they just don't have to fund.
So bearing in mind the increased cost of energy, while of course we've modelled out that the energy price cap will indeed benefit many groups, it seems like there's many other tensions at play here than just the cost of energy.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't think it's any coincidence that in this context of higher rental prices, we're also seeing people reconsider getting onto the housing ladder. So more than half of people that were going to buy their first home are now reconsidering it.
Sounds like a tough time all round. Join us next time when we'll talk about the owner-occupied market and how that looks across the rest of the UK.